Good afternoon. We are here. It's Thursday, February 28th, 2013, as part of the Case Western Reserve Social Justice Institute Oral Life Narrative. We are here with Jacqueline Goodrum and the Voicing in Action Project. Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, February 28th, 2013. We are here with the Social Justice Institute, part of Case Western Reserve University, and the Voicing in Action Project. We are here with Jackie Goodrum. Can you state your name for us, please?
Yes, my name is Jacqueline Goodrum.
We'd like to thank you for participating in our project. And if you could start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your family history.
Well, I come from a family of 10 children. I am number 8 out of 10. I have 5 sisters and 4 brothers, which one is deceased. My mother is the late Reverend Jane Woods, who passed in 2005. She was a minister and our assistant pastor at Universal Living Christ Temple Church, where I grew up at, the church I grew up in. And right now I am a licensed minister at United Temple Spiritual Church, Reaching the World, located at 903 East 105. And my pastor is Reverend Philip K. Jones Sr. I am also the youth chairperson. I have an organization that I'm trying to get off the ground. We're new. It's called the Ray of Light Ministry. And in 2011, I took 18 young men and 13 young ladies with 5 of the chaperones. We toured Washington, D.C. for 3 days. We went to the White House. We went to the U.S. Capitol. We went to the Pentagon. We went to the Navy Shipyard Museum. And we went to the Smithsonian Institute. And also stopped at our Congresswoman's office, but she wasn't there. The ages were from 6 to 21. And my youth ministry is to empower young people and help bring out the bright light that is within each child. And so that's my mission and my goal. I would like to have my own child development center one day soon. I graduated from Cuyahoga Community College with an associate degree in early childhood education. I have 3 girls and 2 boys. My oldest son is Richard Swells. My daughter Septina Swells, Johnetta Williams, Larissa Goodrum, and Edward Swells. My son Richard Swells is married. He lives out in Euclid. He works. He takes care of his family. His wife works at University Hospital. My daughter Septina is a flight attendant located in Newark, New Jersey. She sent me to Paris for my graduation present, and we went to Hong Kong, China together for a week. And my daughter Johnetta is getting ready to graduate in May. She's going to be an RN. My daughter Larissa is in school. She is scheduled to graduate September 13th with an associate degree in social work. She is an aspiring actress. And my son Edward works in communications. He's out in Arizona. I have 7 grandchildren. Tia Divine Swells, Chaz Isaiah Swells, Amir Swells, Carlita Christina Mahogany Williams, Quinn Jane Alana Williams, Layden Savant Williams, and Azariah Jane Crumble. And I'm proud of that. And I'm sorry, my father, James Woods, is deceased also. He died in 1980. He was a demolition expert in the Army. I come from a spiritual family and a line of ministers in my family.
Excellent, excellent. We're in the interview, but I want to make sure you're comfortable. Is this
that's fine.
bothering you at all? Because I see it sticking up.
That's fine.
Your father, James Woods, you say you come from a ministerial family.
Yes.
And where are they originally from? Where's your family originally from?
My mother is originally from Knoxville, Tennessee. And my father is originally Cleveland, Ohio.
How did they meet?
They met at Universal Liberty. My mother was going to church, and one of the members, Miss Laura Woods, was teaching Sunday school, her and her husband, Edward Woods. And Edward Woods and James Woods were brothers. And James took on a liking to my mother and inquired. And he started coming to church so he could meet my mother. But I call him he's not my biological father, but I call him my father because when he met my mother when she had number 10, and they got married. And how many men would do that nowadays? One child, too, but 10. She was pregnant with number 10, my youngest brother, David. And they met and got married, and he bought a house for us and everything. And we moved here in East Cleveland in 1971.
Wow.
Yes.
Picture of a man.
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
He was a well-dresser. He believed in being right, and he protected all of us. He worked, and he was a good father to us.
So he's not your biological father. You mind if I ask, do you know your biological father?
My biological father is deceased now. His name was Willie Chambliss. He was a truck driver.
And where is he from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Willie
Chambliss, Chambliss. But he was a father only because of sperm, that's it.
Okay. And he was from?
Georgia.
He was from Atlanta, Georgia.
He was from Georgia.
So James Woods and your mom met in church.
Yes.
That storybook.
Yes.
And so I'm taking that had a lot to do with your upbringing and what you got in the household.
Yes. Jazz. My stepfather loved jazz. And him and my mother were, involved in politics when Carl Stokes was the first mayor, when the Stokes brothers, and if anything was going on in East Cleveland that wasn't right, the word was all you have to do is call all the Stokes brothers, and they were going to get things taken care of. And I used to sit on the floor at the end of the bed and just listen to my mom and my dad talk about politics and music. And that's why I love politics and I love jazz.
So that I can set the time frame for this. Your parents met at a church in Cleveland.
Yes.
Your mother was living where?
We were living at 6005 White. I went to John D. Rockefeller. We lived right across the street from John D. Rockefeller Elementary School.
That's Cleveland?
That's Cleveland.
Okay. And you mentioned moving into East Cleveland at what point?
1971. I was entering the 9th grade.
Now, when you moved into East Cleveland, what was your family like then?
When I moved in East Cleveland, it was 6 of us still there, because my other sisters had graduated and brothers had graduated. So it was 6 of us there. 2 were on their way, getting ready to graduate. So then after those 2 graduated, my sister Tanya, she has a PhD now, and she's a minister. She is the assistant pastor at Universal Liberty Church, where I grew up now. Her and my sister Rafine Davis, which is a school bus driver for Cleveland, she's getting ready to retire. After they graduated, then it was just my brother Paul, who lives in Columbus, has his business. My sister Barbara, she does taxes. My brother David lives in Columbus now. He's a chef. And myself. It was just us 4 left.
Just you 4 left.
Just us 4 left.
Now, your mother and James Woods, your father, met what year?
Well, I don't know, because like I said, I was maybe around the 4th grade, 5th grade.
So you were still living in Cleveland?
Yeah, still living.
So you moved into East Cleveland as a family?
As a family. We moved in as a family in 1971.
Where?
On Rosemont. And we were the 3rd black family on that street when we moved there.
Can you tell us what that street looked like in 71, being the 3rd black family?
Well, being the 3rd black family there, it was real quiet. It was nice and clean. The houses on that street, at that time, it looked like a mansion because, the houses are big. Judge DeVinny was the judge. And my sister had a part-time job working in City Hall, my sister Rafine. And she met Judge DeVinny's daughter. And the daughter came home with my sister one day to have lunch. And the word back then was, when you get to the borderline of East Cleveland, whatever you're doing, if you're doing something wrong, you better straighten up. Like, like they said, attention, because the word was East Cleveland did not play. So everybody was on their P's and Q's, and they said, I don't know if it's true, but it was said that Judge Deviney sent his son to jail. So they said, well, if he sent his son to jail, you know what chance you have. So people straightened up, and the word was out. East Cleveland was a place where they cared about the community, and the community was together, and so it was a no nonsense community, to break it down. The neighbors on the street, I got to meet some of the neighbors on the street. I got into the marching band, Shaw High Marching Band, with Mr. Alfred Fortune was our director. I played a French horn, and how that came about, the clarinets. I went to Wilson Junior High in the 7th grade, and so I played the clarinet. So when I got to Shaw High School, I wanted to play the clarinet, but they were all filled. So the choice was the French horn, the tuba, the drums, and the bells. So I picked the French horn. And I would go to the different neighbors' house, knock on the door. We're selling flower seeds to raise money to help buy our uniforms and things like that. And the neighbors, they were pretty nice. They were pretty decent.
Now, when you moved on to Rosemont in '71, you were the third black
family on that street.
Out of how many guesstimate families would you say there were on that street? Maybe
40, 45.
How many vacant houses would you say were on that street?
Right now?
Then?
Oh, there were no vacant houses. There were no vacant houses.
Wow. So when you're on the Shaw Marching Band and you're going door to door trying to fundraise, what was the reception like?
They were nice. I told them, I live on Rosemont, and I had my band uniform also on. I wore my band uniform, so they would know it wasn't a scheme. And I had my little flower seeds and packets and stuff, and and I was letting them know that we were trying to raise money to help to buy uniforms and things for that. And they were nice.
Did they support you?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Okay, it's primarily non-blacks.
Right, but I didn't go inside the houses. I talked to them, on their porches, because it was, the weather was nice. So I would talk to them. I wouldn't go in their houses. I would talk to them at the door.
Can you tell us a little more in '71 or your earlier years what life was like for you as a 9th grader growing up in East Cleveland and growing up in a city or on a street, one of 3 minorities?
Well, we walked to school every day. There were other blacks that we walked with, and there were some white children that we walked with too. I never experienced what the word I'm looking for. I never experienced anyone being prejudiced towards me. They were nice and polite. The setting was okay, because when you went to school, they used to have this old chime bell. School at that time it was big. There was the Corb Lounge, and Mrs. Purnell was in charge of that. Miss Purnell in the 9th grade, I became a manager. She came to my house and talked to my parents. I was a manager at Corb Lounge when they had the canteen dances, and so on the weekends I could go to Corb Lounge, and she would bring me home by 11:30, and I would sell soda and chips and things like that. The teachers there, the teachers cared. They cared about the children. There was a no-nonsense rule at the school. Mr. Gamble, Mr. Lloyd was my principal. Mr. Gamble was the principal there. They had different principals for different grades. I remember her name was Miss Linson. She was my homeroom teacher, a black woman, and she was very, what I want to use, she was very proud. She was a very proud black woman. She talked about her blackness, and talked about her husband. They were a couple. And she just always included her husband when she would talk to us. And she taught us to respect ourselves. She taught us dignity, things on that nature. Like I said, the teachers were good. You went to school and you went to learn. There was no nonsense, no plan, and you were going to graduate. They had drama there also. My brother Paul was in the play Fiddler on the Roof, and then there was a play Pearlie. I was like in the chorus part of Pearlie, and in Fiddler on the Roof I helped like with the props, things like that. So I had good experiences at Shaw overall.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us if your mom shared anything with you about Knoxville, Tennessee, and how she grew up?
Yes, in Knoxville, Tennessee, at that time when she grew up, one day a year, what they called them the colored folks, they could have a carnival. One day out of the whole year. And all the colored folks could go to the carnival. My grandmother, Bertha Irene Lane, she graduated in 1911. I have her high school diploma, I have her high school commencement program. And she spoke Latin fluent. She was the valedictorian. And my grandmother, she never bowed her head down. She taught us to hold your head up, walk straight up, look people straight in the face, give them a firm handshake when you shake their hand. It is said that she was born with a veil over her face. That means she had the gift of prophecy that she could see. My mother also had the gift of prophecy and had the gift of healing, but everything it comes through God. One of my uncles was a bishop. I have an uncle now. My only uncle that's living is Keith Lane in Detroit, Michigan. He's a minister. My Aunt Helen, Dr. Aunt Helen, I call her Aunt Helen, Pura. She is deceased, but she was a doctor. She was in ministry also. My Uncle Ambrose Lane. If you look up Ambrose Lane Sr. on the internet, you're going to find a lot of stuff. He's very, very in politics. Very heavy in politics. I call him a think tank. So my Uncle Ambrose ran for mayor of New York back in those days. And it was said that the mafia had threatened our family. And that's why my grandmother said she didn't like politics because it was dirty. And I remember as a child, one of my brothers, the rumors was in the CIA. And I remember my mother going to Tennessee because my grandmother adopted twins, Dennis and Denise. And something was going on, so my mother went there to kind of fuse things down. I never got to go to Tennessee to see my grandmother because 10 of us. So my mother took the youngest and my younger sister. But then when my grandmother, as she got older, she became kind of sick. My grandmother came to East Cleveland, Ohio, and I got a chance to talk with her. And that's what I say, I bonded with her spiritually.
What brought your mom to Cleveland?
My mother didn't like the way down south was, because it was racist, prejudice. And she wanted a better life for herself, and she wanted a better life for her children. And I thank God that my mother did come up north. I do. When I say my prayers every morning after I pray to God and for everyone, I tell God, I say, thank you for letting me come from the seed of Mattie Jane Lane, who you ordained as Reverend Jane Woods. And I say, Mom, I bless your spirit. And then I bless all my ancestors and everybody, Jesus Christ, everybody. But I'm glad that my mother did come up. And when my mother came up, she wanted to do hair, and she said she went to Phyllis Wheatley. Off of 105, they had a Phyllis Wheatley Institute where you did hair, but she never set up her own shop. But my mother used to do all her 6 girls' hair, and she curled our hair. I learned patience from my mother. Yeah, she had it hard coming up here, but she was determined, and God took care of her because she reverenced God.
Your mother left Knoxville, Tennessee with 10 kids?
No, my mother left Knoxville, Tennessee with 2. I believe it was 2.
So
and
you were born here?
I was born here. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just my oldest 2, my oldest sister, my oldest brother, but yeah, the rest when she came up here. But I'm glad she left Tennessee.
You mind if I ask if you and your 10 siblings share the same name or the same?
No, because we got some of them. We got married. Like I kept my married name Goodrum. My maiden name is Swells.
I meant like before that.
Oh yeah, Paul Swells, Tanya Swells, Barbara Swells, Jacqueline Swells, Yvonne Swells, Roger Nathaniel Swells.
So your siblings, you're all brothers, so you're not step brothers.
No, because we come from the same womb. When you come from the same womb, there's no step. When you have different fathers, then that's step.
Same mother, same father. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Knoxville, Tennessee to Cleveland and then East Cleveland. You talked a little bit about this, but if you can go back, can you think back to your earliest memories of East Cleveland and tell me what life was like then? School, recreation, just life.
Okay. Recreation, there was the YMCA. There was an ice skating rink. I remember at the where the East Cleveland Civic Center, there was an ice skating rink. Bibbs Record Store, Mr. Charlie Bibbs Record Store. When everybody got out of school, we would all go over to the record shop. You know, get our little records and stuff. I remember where Dollar General is right now. It was a bicycle shop there, and it was a clothing store. This lady, her name was Miss Mary, and you could go there and you could put your stuff, you know, your clothes in the layaway. I remember Bob's Big Boy going further, like towards Noble, out Euclid. There was a Bob's Big Boy. It had the big old, you know, Bob's Big Boy sign with the hand with the hamburger. I remember that going in there. Angela Mia's Pizza was there forever because everybody used to go there and get pizza. We still go there. They said that's the best pizza in the world, Angela Mia's Pizza. And where Walgreens is at, back there used to be a bowling alley. And we used to go and bowl. And then where the library is, I believe, there was a movie theater. I can't remember the name of the movie theater, but there was a movie theater there also.
Hayden Show.
On Euclid. On Euclid, it was a movie theater. We used to go to the movies. It sure was. It was a movie theater there.
Wow.
Yeah. And
walking, driving.
Walking. You could walk. Yeah.
You could walk the whole city.
Yes, you could walk the whole city in East Cleveland. Mm-hmm.
And what were the people in East Cleveland like back then? I mean, walk in the city.
Oh, the people were friendly. People were friendly. People looked out for each other. They really did. They looked out for each other. And there was always something for us to do, some activities for us to do when we got out of school so that we wouldn't get in trouble. You didn't hear about gangs and all, you know, the stuff that's going on now. All that wasn't going on then. My perception is that when they took prayer out of schools, that's when the guns and all the drugs and everything else came right on in. But I remember praying in school. I remember praying in school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Praying in school.
Mm-hmm.
And your mom in Knoxville, Tennessee, is your family there? Is that where the religion part got into your family?
Yes, in Knoxville, Tennessee. Another thing, growing up, you said the family that prays together stays together. We were not allowed to walk out of that door to go to school until we all had prayer. We held hands. We had prayer every day before we left out of that house, and we had to say our prayers before we went to bed.
Excellent.
We all sat at the dinner table together and ate. On the weekends, we had to do our work, our homework and do our housework before we go outside. And I remember when we used to do woodwork, and it seemed like my sisters and brothers, they washed the walls and the doors, and I would wash in between the nooks and the crannies and stuff. And I used to say, I got the hard part, but I'm so glad that my mother did that because it taught me detail. It taught me to look for, it just taught me detail, taught me to look and to focus. So at that time, I thought that I had the hardest part, but I'm glad she had me do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now your parents, what did they do for work?
My stepfather, who I call my father, James Woods, he worked. I don't remember what he did, but I know he worked all the time. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so he was the provider for the family. He was the provider for the family. I remember one time I was in the 5th grade, and my mom, we were waiting for our father to come home so they could go shopping because it was near Christmas time. And it was 8 of us was at home then. And so the doorbell rang. My father just came in and my mother wrote a list down. And the doorbell rang, and it was a white man, had a clipboard. And they said my mother's name had been pulled in the county's giveaway. and it was a huge truck. Brought in bikes, all kind of Christmas toys and stuff, everything, food, everything. Yeah, and I was like, wow. It said, girls such an age, boys such an age, like that. Yeah, and we had all this stuff. I mean, everything. So I said, our Christmas was saved because it was kind of uncertain back then. But we didn't grow up. They didn't teach us Santa Claus was a white man coming down the chimney. We knew that our parents bought our Christmas stuff. Yeah, they didn't. My stepfather, he was kind of militant, so, and he used to always say he was from the Zulu tribe. Yeah, and so yeah.
Did you mention earlier that he was from the Army?
Yes, he was a demolition expert.
Demolition expert, and he worked in he was in the Army.
He was in the Army. He fought.
Okay. Do you know
that part I don't know.
What branch? Or?
No, but he used to just tell us stories about the MPs and things they would do, and just tell us. Sometimes we would be making that stuff up, but he.
Fascinating. Fascinating. While we're remembering back, can you think of some of your fondest memories in East Cleveland?
Being in the marching band, because every time the football games we would play, my mother and my stepfather, they would come most of the time. They would come, and Mr. Alvin Fulton. If you was late for practice, you had to. I was late one time for practice, and I had to run around the field with my instrument. 5 taps. I was never late anymore. That was one of his rules. Miss Ruth Ritchie was our music teacher, and so we got to sing a lot. And then one time they had a fashion show. I was flat. I was flat everywhere. So, but they put me into the fashion show. And that was nice. Miss Purnell, like I said, Miss Purnell. At Shaw High School, I had some good memories at Shaw High School. There was a few little things going on, but most of that, the teachers really, really taught, and they were there to teach you and to help you. And they pushed you. They didn't just let you slide by. I mean, they pushed you. They pushed you, to get your education, to make something of yourself. I had a couple of friends that I got a chance to go over their house, and they would come over my house. I never hung around a lot of people. I've always kind of close to myself, but I had a few associates that we hung together, at times. But you were gonna go to school. You wasn't cutting. You wasn't gonna cut no class, and I will always sit up in the front. Always sit up in the front of the class because I wanted to learn. I wanted to get out, soak in everything I could. But I do have good memories of Shaw High School, like I said. And then they would have rallies. They would have the rally, pep rallies and everything, and it was nice.
Was education something that was pushed really hard in your house?
Yes, my mother used to tell us, if you don't go to college, at least I want you to graduate from high school. My mother only got a chance to go to college for a year because her father worked in the coal mine. My sister, Tanya, I think she was 32, 34, something like that. When she got her PhD, she went straight through. And I remember her saying that there were times when she would write one time my mother sent her $5. That was all, So the place doesn't make you, it doesn't matter where you are, what environment, it's your determination. It's your determination. My brother Paul went to college for a while. But my sister Tanya, she's the one who has the PhD. She went straight through.
Excellent.
Yeah, but education was really important.
Okay. Thinking about the band, were you part of the band? I understand they went overseas.
No, I wasn't right. I wasn't in that part when they went overseas. I came in after that. But Shaw had the best band in the land, and they had Battle of the Bands. I was in one of those, and I remember one summer we marched. It was a parade, and we marched from Shaw, went down to the Lewis Stokes Rapid Center, and we went over to Hayden and came back around, and we did the Shaw Band, the Shaw Band. I even have a picture in that. And then the majorettes, the cheerleaders, the highlighters. It was, but you had to keep your grades up, and you had to be of good report in order, to stay there. So you wasn't gonna be cutting up and acting up, and disrespecting it. It was about you couldn't disrespect, your elders in order to be involved in those different things.
Wow, that's nice. In what ways has the city changed over time, and what do you think contributed to those changes?
Well, there were a lot of businesses in East Cleveland also as well, and so when a lot of the businesses left, that brought down property values. And then as the people started, the older people started moving out, that brought down property value also. Because look at it now, it's about six abandoned houses on just about every street you look at, and the reputation now is that East Cleveland is a hole in the wall. Nobody wants to go there, but I differ because we're sitting on prime land. We're on prime land, and we just need to come together as a community to bring it back up, and I believe we can do that.
Why do you think East Cleveland is prime land?
Because where we at, you can get to the airport. You have Case Western Reserve. You have University Hospital. You have, within maybe in 20, 25-minute drive, you have, what is it? Well, the place that they have 100 for children who have disabilities, mental retardation. Just you have, and now they just the bookstore right up there. They had coffee shops, and it's just a center place. You can get downtown. It doesn't take you long to get downtown. You go east, west, north, and south, and you have just different things out Euclid. So it's in a prime area where you can go different ways and get to a lot of. It has a lot to offer. It has a lot to offer.
Okay.
And so, like I said, it's sitting on a prime piece of land from the geographical area point of view.
Okay. Can you tell me more about what or how you feel it has changed, or what caused those changes to East Cleveland from when you were a child and every house was full and businesses and a vibrant city, you could walk from one end to the other?
Like I said, when the businesses left and the older people, sold their houses or died or whatever, people came, as it became more black populated, we had some, not saying that's the case all the time, but there were some people who were in office positions that were dishonest, corrupt. And, they've taken, stealing money from the city. And anytime you steal money from the city or mismanage money from the city, it's going to cause a domino effect. And then, when teachers leaving out to go to other areas to teach because they pay more money, then you lose a lot. And like I said, property value, started going down. And then the mindset of the community was not togetherness anymore. And, I just say that when we take on Western society's point of view, I got my house, I got my car, I got a bank account, I'm fine, you get yours. That's when we fall down. That's when we crumble. Because that's what life is not about that. We're all connected to each other. White, black, Hispanic, Asians, whatever. We're really all connected to each other. And so when the mindset drops, as they say, the people, without a vision, the people perish, and the mindset of the community drops the ball, then that's when everything is just there. And just people stop caring. And one or two or three people that are trying is like going against the grain, because you got nobody caring and only one or two people doing something. Of course it's going to deteriorate. But then on the flip side of that, with those one or two, three people, getting together and then grabbing other people and getting people back together on that, we got to get back on that mind frame, that one accord, not just in words. There's a group here in East Cleveland doing something. There's a group here in East Cleveland something. There's the mayor. There's city council. There's somebody else. There's somebody else. But everybody's going different ways. If everybody come together and put aside I'm the chief. You know, they say too many cooks spoil the broth. Okay, so let's everybody get together and get on one accord and do what's right. Do what's right for the city to bring the city back up. You know, we've let our children down. You know, I always say instead of pointing your finger at these kids and the young people, embrace them. But see, we have to be the leaders and we have to lead by example. So when they see us, we're out there smoking with them and shooting dice with them and drinking with them and cussing with them and dressing inappropriately with them and dogging each other out with them. Then, so what do they have to look up to? You know, they say you're a product of your environment. They mimic what they see. And so we need to get back to being leaders. You know, I said we need more divinely led leaders, not religious nuts, but divinely led leaders to talk about morals and values and principles and what's good and what's not accepted. And then that'll get us together back. Because if Martin, like they say, well, what would Martin Luther King say if he was here? He would shake his head and say, I don't believe this. I don't, not just him, but all our ancestors. I don't believe this. This is what we fought for you to do this? No.
Can you give me more on what you think happened from what he was marching to where we are now?
Well, like I said, one thing happened. The mind frame, the mindset changed when we didn't have a lot, and we struggled and we persevered and we wanted better for our children, better for ourselves, and we worked. And so when modern technology came up with everything, you could do everything with a push at a button, we got lazy and we just sat back and pushed at a button. And then education, we don't need that. You know, we don't need that now. And so we took on this mind frame, get rich fast, you know, get money fast. Like I said, get your material possessions fast. And so I have mine and now you get yours. And we stop holding hands, locking hands in hands, fighting together for everybody to have, you know, the same equal time. And we stopped that because now I have mine and now I'm sorry, you got to get yours. You know, and that's even in the household, in the houses, you know, and it wasn't like that with the black race. God was number one and education was number two. Those were the main two things that kept us together. And those are the two things now, it's like on the back burner. You know, when I hear parents say, well, he wouldn't get up or she overslept. What do you mean he wouldn't get up, she overslept? You're the parent. Who's the parent? You know, you playing all this loud music, you cussing at your children, and then they're going to school cussing the teacher out. Then you go to school and cuss the teacher out. Where did it come from? You know, so we have to be reprogrammed again. You know, parents being friends. I'm not your friend. I remember when teachers would come to your house. Teachers would come to your house and visit you on a surprise. And sometimes they come have dinner with you. I remember that happening. Like I said, the community, it takes a village to raise a child. The teachers would come into the houses. The community had things to offer the children. I'm talking about in East Cleveland when I was coming up. There was always something going on. And if you did something, somebody was going to tell. And they would tell you, they would make you straighten up. But now, you know, we so scared now, we don't want to get involved. We don't say nothing, and we just turn our head until it happens to somebody, to one of us. Then we want the whole world to help us. But if it's not somebody immediately that we know what we like, then we don't want to be bothered with it. And see, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, all the ancestors, they didn't do that. If one hurt, we all hurt. And that's our motto at my church. Our pastors say, if one hurt, we all hurt. You know, and so we have to get that back. East Cleveland, I'm telling you, East Cleveland is, I'm planning on being rich. I already said I'm a millionaire spiritually because everything starts with the mind thought. I'm a millionaire. So when my money comes, I'm going to give some to the schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So Jackie, are you still a resident of East Cleveland?
Yes. When I graduated, I left East Cleveland in 1979. But then my mom passed, and I came back in 2005. So I've been back here since 2005.
What year did your mom pass?
2005.
Okay.
And when I came back to East Cleveland, when I came on my street, I said, Lord, I said, what happened? What happened? And then I'm looking around, some people, well, this person died or they left, they moved. And East Cleveland is just, it's terrible. It's terrible. Like I said, some people stole money and then there were some who mismanaged. So anytime you're taking away and not putting nothing in, it's going to go down. And so after, over a period of time, it just started decaying and decaying and decaying. And now it's to the point now, it's like they're saying it's hopeless, but it's not hopeless. It's never hopeless. And like I said, I believe if a lot of the community members get together on the same mind frame, then it can be built back up. And we have to teach our young people. Sometimes I go to the library. Yeah, there was a library in East Cleveland at that time too. But go to the library, and it's some of these kids, and they just cuss, and they're first thing you say, well, what are the parents teaching these kids? But if you're a parent and that's your friend, you're instead of the parent, that's another problem. And like I said, some people just got fed up and just left. And so when everything is gone, there's nothing left. And there's so many empty houses. Ugh.
That's good. So, 71 to 79, how had your street changed just in that small window?
Only thing changed about that was just the color of people. The property value was still as the same. Houses were still kept intact. People, came out, mowed their lawns, and you sit on the porch at night and talk and discuss. You didn't have to worry about nobody, coming up to you, robbing you, nobody stealing your cars or doing anything like that. The community, they had block parties. They would have block parties. Remember block parties? Yeah. And like I said, they had things for the children. Because I remember when I was in the 9th grade, we went to, I forgot where it was, but we went somewhere. It was a party. They had a community theater. We went there to a party, and they always had something for us to do.
In 71, there were 3 blacks on your street.
Mm-hmm.
79, what did your street look like?
Maybe there was maybe 3 white families left. Yeah, 3 white families. And then eventually they left. Yeah.
What were your relations like over those years with the neighbors and the white people and the white kids on your street?
Well, I remember, because I live closer to Terrace, and I remember going up Terrace about the 3rd house. There was a family there. They had a couple of white kids, and we would walk to school a couple of times. Sometimes we would walk to school with them. I remember a girl, her name was Crystal. I can't remember her last name. And we had lockers next to each other. Like I said, I didn't experience racism or prejudice. They were nice. That was the one family I would go over their house sometime, Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like, the black person, let me close my door, put out the shades, You didn't get that because it was mostly older people on the street.
So what did the band look like? Was the band any white people on the band?
I'm trying to remember. There may have been maybe 3, 4 at the most at that time, but it was mostly black.
And what was the relationship like with the white people on the band?
There was
between you, but with other bands.
Right. Well, I don't remember any racial tension or anything, and I remember sometimes we would play Brush High School or Normandy High School, but there was never no rivalry like now. If you lose the game and people are fighting, it wasn't that. I remember going up to Cleveland Heights High School also. We played Cleveland Heights, and I remember going up there, and we played, and everybody they clapped for us and everything. So it wasn't like it is now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jacqueline, tell us about '79 and why you left East Cleveland. Why you left this area? And what did you do?
Well, you start having children, and you want to branch out and be on your own. I'm trying to see where maybe move on I don't know why I moved on the other side of town, but I moved on the other side of town over Harvard area. I guess I just wanted to, I guess you say sow your oats or whatever. I branch out, and so I moved on the other side of town, and then when I had my children, they went to Cleveland Public Schools.
So you were still pretty much in the greater Cleveland area, just not in East Cleveland.
Right, just not East Cleveland.
Had you kept an eye on East Cleveland over that time period? I mean, did you come through? Did you drive through?
Well, my mom's was, I come over and see my mom and see some of the neighbors that were still there, and let me see what else would East Cleveland. Yeah, I had a couple of friends. Their parents still live. Like one of my friends, her name was Merlin. She deceased, Merlin Salters, and her parents lived on Ardnall. And I would go over and visit my girlfriend Cleo and Ed Davis. Their family lived on Strathmore. I'll go and visit her mom and dad, see how they were doing. Yeah.
So you could see the city kind of deteriorating that time period.
Yeah.
And you listed a number of beautiful reasons why. Are there any other reasons you could think of? Because we've done a couple other interviews and some issues that keep coming up over and over.
Money left. Like I said, money left. And when there's no money, and then like I said, at that one time it was the respect started dying. Because like I said, at that time the word was out, when you get to the borderline of East Cleveland, you better straighten up because they're not playing. You're not coming in here acting a fool, causing a disturbance. So their laws were kind of strict. And so if people had been drinking, you better sober up.
Now, when you first came to East Cleveland in '71, do you know why your parents decided to move to East Cleveland?
No, but I know when we was living. Well, I know they living on 605 White. We needed more space. We needed more space because we had to share bedrooms and stuff. But I don't know why they picked East Cleveland. I remember listening. Well, East Cleveland was a nice area, and because of the schools, because of Shaw. But my sister and brother, my brother went to Kirk and went to it was Kirk then, and went to the elementary schools. But he was like 6 years younger than me, so my sister and my brother went to Kirk, and my brother David went to elementary school. But because of the schools and everything, like I said, everything was, you could get to every place. The bus lines were you can go everywhere on the bus line, or the rapid. The police, the police. You could if you had to call the police, they would come. If you had to call the fire department or the EMS, they would come. People responded. So it was, and then the environment was a clean environment. It was a decent environment, what they call considered decent and quiet. And like I said, it was a no nonsense. If you were respectful and acted accordingly, you wouldn't have to worry about anything. But if you get out of line, then of course, yeah. Like I said, I can truly say that I didn't experience racism. It may have been there, but I didn't experience that. I just believe it's how you carry yourself and what you demand when your presence. Because a place don't make you make the place. So when you demand respect, when you walk in dignity and authority, then I don't care where you go, you will be respected. Because I have been in some places, situations where there was, but I had to put that on, and to diffuse that.
I like the way you put it. And a number of people have referred to East Cleveland during your time period as a walking city, as being attractive because it was a walking city. You could walk and get everything you need: food, entertainment,
Yeah, the
school.
grocery store.
I wanted to go back and throw something out and get your response to it, because out of all the things that you've mentioned as to the decline of the city, most have mentioned homeowners and drugs. Now, when you first moved into East Cleveland, were you buying or renting?
We were buying.
Okay, now do you know people on your street or people throughout the city, if it was owners or renters?
The ones, the people that I associated with, they were homeowners. After we moved in, then other blacks came in and they were homeowners, and then some left because they couldn't, they couldn't afford, to keep up. So that was some of the reason why they moved out too. But they were mostly homeowners. I'm sure there were some renters, but the ones that I associated myself with, I know that their parents, they were homeowners.
Okay.
Yeah, they were homeowners. And right down on the street of Rosemont, there was a side by side. It was like huge at the time. It was like a mansion. I think the last name was Sanders, and and they kept people kept their property up. They kept their property up, and they would always, if it needed painted, they would paint it. And they out there cutting grass and watering the grass and pulling weeds up and just sweeping. And people just took pride. They took pride in where they lived.
You think that changed over time?
Yeah. You not even right just now, but you started seeing that. You started seeing that. Walk by, and grass is way up here, look like weeds.
What do you think attributed to that?
Not caring, giving up. People just got. I think some people just got to the point where, you just get complacent in where you are and stop caring. They stop caring.
Okay.
They stop caring. The pride left.
Another big thing that's mentioned in the decline of East Cleveland is drugs. Can you tell us a little bit about drugs and your feelings?
Well, I can't speak as far as that time period because I wasn't around like that. But I hate drugs with a passion, because drugs kill and destroy your membranes, and it trickles down. I don't even I thank God I don't smoke. I saw a documentary when those cigarettes go down the machine, whatever this chemical is on 60 Minutes, whatever this chemical they spray on these cigarettes, when you do this, 5 seconds it shoots to your brains. You selling drugs to somebody, that person may have the cure for AIDS, for cancer, for whatever, and by you selling them drugs, you're destroying their brains, and you're destroying them. You're destroying people, all for a profit. They didn't go get the drugs. Drugs were brought over here. That's a form of genocide. They have the different forms of genocide, and that's a form of genocide. After it was okay for the black communities to get strung out on drugs, but when it started reaching the Caucasian society, then America wants to do something about it. But drugs is to bring you down. It's nothing but to destroy you.
You think that has had an impact on this city?
Yes, I believe so. Like I said, I wasn't here at the time when all that was going on, but of course, because when a person is on drugs, you don't care. You don't care about nothing, and you're losing. You lose a lot, and so you stop. You become just existing.
Okay. Let's go back into racism, and I know you said that you were pretty much above racism. You didn't experience a lot of it. But I want you to think about it again in these two forms. How has race and racism impacted you personally, and how has it impacted the city of East Cleveland?
Well, how has race impacted me personally? I feel that one of my missions is to reach and save our children, to teach them about the God that lives within them, to teach them that they come from kings and queens. When I was teaching Head Start, I would get a mirror and pass it around to each child and have them look at themselves, and I would make them say affirmations. I am smart. I am beautiful. I am great. I can learn anything. And I don't care. I love God. God loves me. I'm special. And then, and so when President Barack came up with, when they said, yes, I am, yes, I can, yes, I am. And so I would ask the children, are you smart? Yes, I am. Are you beautiful? Yes, I am. Are you great? Can you learn anything? And so now hug yourself, give yourself a hug. I feel my purpose is to teach them and to teach them about our ancestors. I don't like what they did to our ancestors. It's impacted me to the point where I'm proud. I'm a proud black woman of African descent, and I don't. I say I don't use the word slave master because I don't accept that. Master. I don't accept that. But the owners, who they treated our people as though they were property. It made me. Nobody is gonna demean me or undervalue me. I am proud. I teach my children, not just my children by birth, but my children. I teach them where they come from, to be proud. Reading, being able to read, and education is the key. So I diffuse. I try to diffuse hatred and racism, and I pray a lot.
How long were you at Head Start?
Oh, I was with Head Start for about 5 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Good deal. And you were a teacher there?
Yes. One year I had my children, before they got to kindergarten, they could read sentences. They could tell you about the value of a nickel, a dime, a penny, a quarter. They could tell you about what vitamin C is. We spoke, I think, 8 different languages every day. Bonjour, buongiorno, konnichiwa, hola, ni hao, kadu, hello, how are you? What else? Guten Tag, and hello.
Wow, that's nice.
And they could do math. 4 triangles plus 2 triangles, that's how I did it, equals so and so. That's how I taught them. Because they learned so much.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about racism and the impact it's had on you. Can you think back, East Cleveland school growing up, band, maybe outside of high school? Have you experienced any racism?
Oh, yes. When my children were in school.
And my children were in school?
In Cleveland Public Schools. Alexander Hamilton Middle School. My youngest son, Edward, he's light skinned. And when parents are at the schools, it does make a difference. When you come into those schools and they know that they have a parent. My mother was involved with us in the PTA, and so I did with all 5 of my children. I was involved, and that's how I got this position. That's where I am now because of me being involved. There was this one teacher who took a piece of paper and put it to my son's face and the kid's face and said, "What color is this?" A piece of black paper. "What color is this?" "Black." He came and told me, and I went and got her straight. Mr. Dici, he was the principal, and he had a habit of subliminally trying to destroy our young black boys so that they would fail. And I remember telling him one day, I don't know if he's alive now, but I remember telling him one day you're going to wake up to get out of the bed and you won't be able to move. And when that day happens, I want you to remember what Miss Swales told you, because I'm tired of you doing our boys like you doing our children. I said, if my son does something, he has to be suspended. He's gonna get suspended and he's gonna face the consequences. But at the same time, if he's not just my son, I'm not gonna walk these halls and see teachers dogging and cursing and doing things to our kids, and I'm gonna stand there and no, I'm gonna say something about it. So I had a reputation of Miss Wells don't play. I was there to see about my kids. It was not like, oh, they're angels, you know. But yes, I've experienced, and I remember my mother telling me, you know, these teachers get together in the lounge and they discuss students. I found that to be true. I was involved with the school community council, the DAC. I was on the Cleveland School Board. I was elected as the last elected member on the Cleveland School Board before Judge White gave the schools over to the mayor, Mayor Michael White. Yes, and so I had to confront some teachers. Some teachers were there just for paychecks, and then you had white and black, and then you had some teachers who really go out beyond the means and do for children. I've had even in the black race, black teachers being prejudiced toward a certain child, because you know you get that too. Yeah, so like I said, and I remember in the 7th grade, he was from Czechoslovakia, and him and his wife taught, a little short, fat white man. He sat back like this.
Your 7th grade?
My 7th grade, it was in junior high school, and let 2 people in the classroom fight. Yeah.
Who did he let fight?
These 2 girls.
What color were they?
They were black. They were black.
You sat there and watched them?
Looked at him. Then somebody ran and went and got the principal. But he sat there, didn't do anything. And so, yeah, I've experienced that. And I don't hate white people, but I have a disdain for those who enslaved my ancestors and those who mistreated our people, you know.
Now, growing up, you mentioned earlier that racism was around you, and it almost sounded like you said you were above racism.
As far as when I moved into East Cleveland, during that time at Shaw High School, I didn't experience it in that frame period. No, I didn't. But like I said, before I moved to East Cleveland, like I said, I went to Wilson Junior High. I experienced it there. Then when my children were in school, I saw it.
Can you give me a time frame for your children?
It was born in the 90s. It was in the 90s.
Okay.
90, 93, 94, 95. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I remember going up to the school one day, and I remember my son, Richard, my oldest son, he went to the School of Science. And I remember, but before that, I remember telling him and my son Edward, I remember telling him in front of my son Edward, I remember telling him in front of the principal, Mr. Dici. I told him, I said, because my son was so mad, he wanted to cry. I said, don't you cry, don't you ever let another man make you cry. And I told him, I said, you know what? If you feel that he's prejudiced and trying to undermine, I said, don't have verbal with him. I said, you know, you come talk to me, and I'll deal with him. And then I'll talk to God, you know, because I always talk about God. My daughter's 17, she's an airline stewardess. She was in the School of Arts. One day, my son, Richard, she had sinus allergies, and so he had opened up the window and put the fan in. So she's all congested. So she said she's in class. She done fell asleep because she took some medicine. And the teacher, the white teacher, took 2 erasers, stood over my daughter, and did like that over her. My daughter came and told me. I said, okay, I'm coming up there. Like I said, I was there. I go in the classroom, he's talking, and I came in nice and polite. My name is Mrs. Swells, I'm Septina's mom. And I was explaining, and I took 2 erasers, and I did him the same way. I said, now tell me how you like it now. I told my daughter, come on, Septina. And we went down to the office. You know, so this is over, but the vice principal at the time, she said, Miss Wells, she said, I was so mad, but there was nothing I could do. All the secretaries, when I came out, and we had a meeting, and I told him, I said, you are no better than my daughter, me, and nobody else. See, I had a reputation. I don't take no mess. I'm a female warrior. Now, I'm nice and polite and kind, but don't step on my shoes. Don't mess with my children, not just my children, but I'm talking about children, period. Don't mess with our babies. Yeah, and then the theater teacher, he called my son yellow something one day, you know, and I had to come up there and get him straight. And then I had to go up to the School of Arts another time and get another teacher straight. When I talked to him, he was just shaking, and I was quick to say, don't let me get the brothers on you. Because I couldn't, I didn't like that. Yeah, and like I said, I've seen blacks and whites, yeah, I've seen that racism and that prejudice, and I hate it. I hate it. I don't like it. Okay. And it's still, oh gosh, it's just terrible.
And I know you talked about your mother leaving Knoxville and some of the issues they had down there. With a family as big as yours, did anyone in your family have any type of racial problems here in East Cleveland?
My brother, well, no, that wasn't in East Cleveland. Mm-mm. But I think my brother was in the.
And I know you said your family was big in politics too.
Well, my mom and my dad, yeah, they were, and I used to just sit on the floor and just listen to them. And I remember George Forbes on TV and they were talking about George Forbes and discussing stuff, and and I just listened a lot. And like I said, they were, especially my mother, members of the 11th Congressional District Caucus, and went to meetings and things like that. And I would just hear little tidbits and stuff, but I was fascinated. I was always fascinated. And I used to just sit on the floor by the end of the bed, just listen to them talking. And I don't like it. That's what I say. I love politics, because politics is in everything, and that's where you make changes. And so I said, I wanted to, make changes for children's lives to be better. So when I got on the school board, and I was in this organization called ESOP, Eastside Organizing Project, and we, oh my goodness, it was so many schools, Cleveland, and on the west side as well. It was whites and blacks. And then every year we would go to, it's called NPA, National People's Action, from 38 states, over 300 grassroots. And we learned about asset forfeiture. I sat on the panel for that. I did an education workshop. We learned about housing. Just everything. And just to see the diversity of people. That right there prepared me to speak. Yeah.
How do you think racism has impacted East Cleveland?
Oh gosh. The higher ups. And we're not gonna give them nothing. Let them, what they call is the N-word, and worse than that. They don't think we're worth anything, and they don't want to give us anything because they want to come and get this property. My belief is they want us to give up to the point where we just all leave and they can just come on in and take it and rebuild it up. Because I was told that somebody already they've seen the blueprints already. Mm-hmm.
Another word that's closely tied in when you talk about racism is inequality.
Mm-hmm.
How has inequality impacted you personally, and how has it impacted the city of East Cleveland?
When you don't pay people what they're worth, as far as their skills, it makes them get to a point where they stop producing like they would normally do. And then a lot of them eventually give up and leave. We always have to work harder, always have to be smarter, always have to do things more to prove ourselves. Even though we have our black president, a lot of society says, okay, well, we gave you a black president, what more do you want? But we still need much, much, much more. We need more men to step up to the plate as well. We need more men to step up and to get our young men back on track. Because when we women, we can only do so much. I couldn't teach my sons how to be a man. But I used to have my sons look in the Ebony magazines and see the 100 influential black men and the women, 100 influential black women, who's who, and tell them, you see this? This is what I want you to do. I used to take my kids around and showing people digging in garbage cans. And I want you doing it. That's not what I want for you. This is not what I want for you. When PBS specials, I want you to watch this. Then I'm going to ask you questions about it later. All my children had library cards. They went to the library, coming up. They went to Vacation Bible School, all that. I tried to do all that stuff. Inequality, it's, like I said, you have to be extra hard, yet you have to work extra hard, extra smart. They don't want to give you what you're worth.
From a personal perspective, has race or inequality affected you educationally, work, social services?
At one time it did, yes, because I was on welfare, I was on assistance. But the truth be told, more white people on welfare than blacks. It has always been. But yes, to the point where you sit and wait for a paycheck every month. But then, cat's out of the bag. I always had my little job under the table, where you didn't have to worry about that. So I always wanted more, but at that time, this is, because of system and society, the way he set things up, and then some, you fall into that trap. But then, you get to a point where you can get out. You can get out. And at that time, it just seemed like every time I wanted to go back to college, something always came up. Either I had a child or it was another issue, and so I couldn't. And so when my daughter, number 5, Larissa, when she got to the 10th grade, I said, I'm going back to school. I'm going back to school. And it felt good. It felt good. And so our children, now there are so many opportunities out here for them to excel. But when you have the masses showing you can have this just like that. If you dress a certain way, if you talk a certain way, if you act a certain way, you can have all this stuff now and forget about the other stuff. See, that's all a diversion to keep your mind away and unfocused on you, being you, the true essence of you.
Is that part of the trap? Can you tell us more about this trap?
Well, look what we have. Look what you see now, our entertainers. Our girls are exposing their bodies, marks all on their bodies. Our young men, sagging pants, dressing sloppy, don't care about yourself, how you look. I mean, we all went through our little different time periods, but our entertainers, it was always about respect. Whenever we presented ourselves with some dignity, with some class. They don't care anymore. I grew up, you wearing long dresses, or, you wearing, to your knees to church. You have the grown people, all this hanging out, splits up to here, and you up there shouting. But then you're going to say, look at that fast girl. Well, look at you. You don't wear a slip. You can see everything. Men, our young boys go to church wearing tennis shoes and blue jeans. I brought my grandson a pair of jeans, took him to the store one Sunday. He came over, I went to the store. I said, well, there go your $20 I was going to give you. Bought you some pants. Because you're not coming to church looking like anything, And they say come as you are. But then when they say come as you are, they're not talking about come. This ain't come whatever shape your mind is in. Come. If your heart is broken, whatever, come. Because get you in the door, then we can do that. But, when we go before God, it's supposed to be a respect. Some kind of respect. So society has changed a lot of things. Oh, gosh. But like I just say, there's so much in my mind.
I really like this trap, especially here in the inequality race, because I have my own views on it, but we're here to get yours, and I'm just like, I'm really into this.
And so you come to school, we have standards, and you have some districts and you have some teachers who are really, really for that, but the higher up, they want you to fail. Let them pass on by, And then so when the child passes high school and go to college, they have to take remedial courses all over again because they just let them slip through the cracks. See, it was fine when it was us. But as more of them start slipping through the cracks, oh, we have a problem. Every time as more of them start something, then it's a problem worldwide. But long as it's not just blacks, but if it's the black race or if it's the Latino race or if it's the Asian race, cool. But see, certain communities, they're not going to stand for it. You're going to get your education. Like I said, we as a people at one time, God was number one and education was number two. Because during slavery time, they were graduating from college. So why you mean to tell me you can't graduate from college? You can't get good grades? It's all about the mind frame. And so they're teaching you this is how you make it. If you take the shortcut. You take the shortcut, you can make it. So you take the shortcut, and these are the jobs we have for you. You can be a garbage person. You can be a taxi cab driver. You can be a bus driver. You can be a waitress. Nah, you can't be the congressman. You can't be a archaeologist. You can't be a scientist, a chemist. None of those important jobs. Ambassador. You can have all these kind of jobs. So that's what, and we're going to get that to you. But no, your mind, you think beyond that. Because, we're just as smart as anybody else. Matter of fact, we invented the pyramids. With all this modern technology, they still cannot figure out how they built those pyramids. Because see, that knowledge came from God. Some people who don't believe in God, a higher power. But it's certain knowledges that we had. We lost that as a race because we turn our back on our Creator. So those who don't say God, we turn our back on our Creator. And so a lot of this stuff started. That has a lot to do with also the spirituality. Because when your spirituality is laying dormant, then you really can't be the essence of who you are. And then once you become aware of who you are, essence-wise, spirituality-wise, then everything starts to, those chakras start kicking in, and those centers in your body start kicking in, the power, the 12 powers of man start kicking in, and then you get the fruits of the spirit start kicking in, and then the mind talks to the brain, and then the brain can understand what the mind is saying, and then you spread it around to everybody else. And then you start loving yourself again, fall in love with yourself again. We've fallen out of love with ourselves. And then when you fall in love with yourself again, and you realize and know who you are, who you really are, and then I'm going to help my sister over here, and I'm going to help my brother over here. Because we used to have one foot in the door and the other one on the way, but then we grab somebody's hand and bring them in, and we stopped doing that. And so we had to do that back again.
Part of that trap.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go on another pause. Okay. Can you recollect a memory or an instance when the community fought for something? When East Cleveland fought for something?
I'm trying to think. Heritage Middle School. I know it was said that they were thinking about tearing it down and shipping the kids somewhere else. And the community said no. It was a prime building. Clean it up and reinvent it. Don't send our kids way over and busting them over here and over there. And the community came out against that, and it stayed. What else? That's all I can think of right now. I remember when, as far as politics, they say if you can't do the crime, don't do the time. But people, fought for certain people who were indicted. Mayor Anawa for example. The community, they really came out to support him. And he really didn't do anything no bigger than the other people did. He was just a black man. And he didn't take a lot. He was just a black man who did it. But, and then also, it was a setup because, see, Judge Ottawa, I remember he would walk those streets and talk, and he would get the drug dealers off the street. And because at the time when I was in the ESOP organization, I remember us going, sitting down, talking with him, the group of us sitting talking to him. And he was there to make a difference in that city. You know, he got caught up. That's why you have to stay focused. Because the best of us get caught sometimes. The best of us get, we lose our temper, our cool, whatever. So even Jesus lost his temper, So, but you have to stay focused. You have to stay focused, and you always have to remember, I'm in this position, and there's always somebody out to get me, to make me fall. And so you keep that with you, and be on guard all the time. You let your guards down sometimes, but you don't let your guards down completely, because, like I said, because there's entities that always want to they're out to get you, out to destroy you, because you're too strong, because you're too intelligent, because you're building people up. And so those who are in those positions who want to keep their so-called dynasty, that's their job, is to tear you down so that you can stop helping. You talk about inequality. And like I said, our ancestors fought too much. They walked too much. They shed too much blood. They struggled, sacrificed too much for us. I was listening to Spike Lee. He said his grandmother, every time she got paid, she put money to the side. His grandmother, I think he said she died when she was 102, 103. But every time his grandmother got paid, she set money aside for him. And our ancestors scrubbed floors and washed walls and ironed people's clothes and did stuff like that to put their children through college and help their grandchildren. So how dare we sit back and not do nothing? We can't blame everything on the system, but we can't blame everything, because we have to take ownership also. And there are certain things that we have to, regardless of that. Like I said, me being on welfare, regardless, I was dedicated in those schools. I did volunteering hours, and I started going around politicians, and I met Rosa Parks. I met Jesse Jackson. I met President Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, all of them. I got pictures with all of them. And I'm saying, okay, I'm on welfare, and I'm standing next to Miss Rosa Parks and the president and all these people. It was God. I didn't have money. I didn't have a name behind me. But it was because of the mind frame that I had. I want to get around. So you have to, when you want something greater, you got to get up out of your seat. First of all, you got to get up, because faith without works is dead. You got to get up, and you got to take yourself to those places and introduce yourself, and then let those people see your face. I used to tell my girlfriend, every time they see me, they're going to see my face and say, well, who is that person? Who is she? And then after a while, you're going to be able to put a name to my face, And when President Clinton was the president, I was on welfare. I'm sitting up here with Bill Wooten, who was the director of all budget for elementary school in the whole state in the whole country. I'm sitting up here chairing an education workshop. I'm sitting on a panel with asset forfeiture. Over 1,000 people here in Washington, D.C. I'm sitting here at this table in 1999 where Title I, Goals 2000, had to be presented to Congress. I'm sitting here as a parent on welfare. Everybody around me got CEO and corporate and this and that. I'm just a parent. My name is Jacqueline Swells. I'm just representing all the parents in Cleveland, Ohio. That was it. And it was passed and it was presented to Congress. So knowledge and education is important. It is important, but you have to put yourself. Sometimes you got to get up and go out there when you want something also. And God blessed me to do all these things, to go all these places. And that was, like I tell people, that was before I even went back to school to get a degree. So it's all in your mind. What do you want? How bad do you want it? Because if you want it bad enough, you're going to make a way to get it. Because God said you make the first step, I make two. You make 4 steps, I make 5, 6 steps for you. And it has to be whatever, this is what our pastor teaches, whatever you give yourself to consistently, it'll give itself back to you. So if you constantly giving yourself to despair, failure, not caring, that's what you're going to get. But if you give yourself to perseverance, dedication, I don't care how long, how hard, and you keep on going, every day you get stronger and stronger, and you build your character up and you build yourself, and then you get to that point where I'm here.
Jacqueline, that last segment. Now, I don't know much about the 60s, and I've often heard stories of how 105 and that whole area is a lot of black togetherness.
Yeah,
and
stories.
You were mentioning part of it coming out of your mouth of your Martin Luther King. What do you think happened to the black family?
Drugs. Then when the system said, okay, we got mom and dad in the household, and you get down on your luck and you need some money. Well, we can't help you, because so and so here. But now, if you here by yourself with these kids or without kids, and the man is out of the house, we can help you. And that was all systematically designed. So that right there started it. The drugs, that helped, and then the liquor, the alcohol too, because every like to say, it's all these churches, and then you see all these liquor stores, corner stores. You go out to the white suburbs and other suburbs, you're not gonna see all that. They're not letting you not coming there selling drugs. You're not coming there selling liquor and stuff. That played a big part in it too.
Impacted our community, impacted our families.
And then, like I say, with the companies leaving out, people started getting laid off, couldn't find. And then, some people got the mind frame, I can get an unemployment. I get these unemployment checks, so shoot, I ain't gonna even go try to find no job. I'm gonna ride this unemployment as long as I can. And then when they run out, I gotta go find a job. But then, okay, we gonna make a law. We gonna give you a little bit more unemployment. Okay, I'm gonna get that unemployment again. Sit back. And so we let it go, and we stopped caring. We lost the love and the respect for ourselves. When Michael Jackson said, look at that man in the mirror, it's all about change. When you change your mind, my sister, I always talk about her, my sister Tanya, coming from a family of 10, when she said my mother sent her $5 one time. She didn't say, oh, you know what, that's all I got? No, that's all my mother had to give her. But she gave it to her. And my sister, I want a better life. Some of us do it early, some of us do it later. But as long as we do it, she went straight through, got her PhD, straight through. I'm like, wow. She went straight through college.
Anything else about East Cleveland fighting for something?
Well, like I said, I know not only Iowa, but they're trying to fight to get the drugs off the street, to get the drugs out. But when you have the big entities keep pouring it in there, and then you have people with money coming up, let the house run down, let it run down, then I'm gonna buy it up, and then I'm gonna jack the prices up, and then I'm gonna let you buy it, but with the foreclosure problem, I'm gonna let you, sign off of here, and I'm gonna stick it to you. Then you taking out 2 and 3 mortgages. I got you. And then with the hospital being gone, just people losing jobs. All those people lost their jobs.
At Head Road?
Yeah, at Head Road Hospital. Where did they go? They lost their homes because they no more had those checks to pay the mortgages, to pay the taxes. So a lot of them left. And it's just sad.
What is your vision for the future of East Cleveland?
I would like to see East Cleveland back up. It may not be exactly the same way, but I would like to see East Cleveland come back up. I would like to see businesses come back in, owned not all by white people, but owned by blacks as well. Our schools can be better. Our schools can be much better. You know and that's a given right there. Any district, you can always do better. I would just like to see the residents stop being afraid to speak out. Oh, I don't like this and that. But when it's come time to stand up, everybody steps back. Nobody wants to get on the front line. Everybody step back. Don't call me. But we so quick to say, you doing this and you doing that. Nah, either you part of the problem or you part of the solution. So if you're going to be part of the problem, then keep your mouth shut. But if you're going to be part of the solution, then come on. And no one person, no one man is an island. So everybody needs to get together on one accord. I would like to see the streets cleaned up better. I would like to see our young people off the street. I would like to see East Cleveland have things to offer our young people so that they can get off the street and can get that hope and determination and that pride. And, you know, once they pick themselves up and fall back in love with themselves, they'll look better, they'll dress better, they'll smell better, they'll talk better. It's all mental.
Closely tied to what, and you did a great job with that, but do you see any major issues here in the city of East Cleveland that need addressing in order to better the neighborhood, better the community, better the city? Any major issues?
Yes. Disrespect
Where?
on both ends. The police, the police, you know, harassing our young men. And then we got our young men who disrespect the police. It goes both ways. Our mayor, it's rude to get up and walk out council meeting. Now, you can't be the pot calling the kettle black when you're on city council and you're talking about this mayor is doing this and doing that. Then you become mayor and you're doing the same thing. City council, the mayor, both ends, they need to come together. And not just in talk, but I mean really. And look at it from, take ego away, take I at yourself, and put yourself at the table and say, what's in the best interest of this city? How can we get this city back? Not about, because I don't like you and you don't like me. I don't like what you said, you don't like what I said. But for the city, for the children, for the future, for the older, to make people want to come back. What can we do? What must we do? This is what we can do, but this is what we must do. Put those notes together. We got to. If we don't, we're going to be like this, and next thing you know, everybody's going to be out. And then we're going to be on the outside looking in and say, you know what? This is our fault. We let this happen because we were too hot-headed and too stubborn to sit down and talk about this and do something about it. So those businesses would want to come back in. You know, at the same time, you're not going to come back in and then rape our people. You know, okay, if you come back in, it's got to be some give and take. What are you going to give us? Because you're going to take out. What are you going to give us? It's got to be a give and take. It can't be all just come and get. And, that, you know, it seems like that's just want to come in and get. If city council and the mayor were like this, the higher ups would have a different outlook. And they would come out of their pocket, yeah, well, we're going to give you the extra, we're going to give you some more. But as long as they're fighting against each other, why should I waste my money? Why should I waste my money? If your schools aren't prime and your police district is not prime and I don't feel safe, why should I waste my money coming here? What's in it for me? If you don't care, why should I care? And that's it right there. Both.
That's beautiful. I mean, you touched so many different points. Can you tell me more about this business give and take What do you think's going on with the businesses now in East Cleveland?
Some of the businesses, they probably want to leave, but they're like you say out between a rock place and a hard bottom. They can't financially, so they ain't got no choice. They'll have no choice but to stay and wait it out. Some of them are praying, oh Lord, please let something happen so I get out of here, you know. And some of them are, I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna fight this to the end.
Do you think it's a give and take right now? Do you think that businesses are putting into the city?
I don't believe so. If they were really putting into the city, you would see a difference. I believe it's more taken than giving.
Why do you think that is?
Look at our city. Look at our streets. The street lights at nighttime. You can go on every street. You may have one or two street lights street lights on. So who wants to come in? Who wants to, when it gets dark, who wants to be out? Nobody is feeling safe. Businesses especially. I'm going to close my shop up early because if I close too late, I'm liable to get robbed coming out the door. They come in here. I better when it's light and lock everything up because they feel they don't feel safe. They had street block watches back then. They were really, really, really there doing their jobs, but everybody's scared. Everybody's scared. Nobody wants to do anything. People have given up. People have given up because they're looking at our leaders like y'all can't get it together, so I'm giving up. Sometimes I go to those meetings and I sit back and I listen to a lot of the seniors come up and talk. And they're frustrated. Well, I don't want to sit there because I don't want them come and destroy my home. I don't want them set my house on fire. I was told someone got her house set on fire because she reported some guys. It's terrible. It's terrible. We need our police here. We do need our police here. But at the same time, we need our police not to just, they see a young man, why are you walking down the street? What are you up to? You can't just profile somebody. It has to be a respect back and forth. And the PAL, the police athletic club like they have in Cleveland. They used to have one in Cleveland on 131st. We need something like that here. I know the police, they do certain things, but get more involved. Like be a mentor. How some corporations will adopt a school. Adopt a school or adopt a center and bring people in to incorporate different things for our young men so that they can have things. Like when we were in school, they had machine shop, wood shop, and all that stuff, driver's ed. They had things like that for our young people. But when there's nothing for our young people to do, and they see, okay, selling drugs and that's easy money, they're going to choose that. But it's all a distortion, to make them think that that's it, that you've arrived once you get that stuff because you got money.
It's that trap.
Yeah. And so when that's done, we don't have to worry about those over there because they're gone, So we can come in and do what we want to do because your attention, your focus is off of what it's supposed to be because you're locked up in that. And then next thing there's the prison, that also the big business in prisons. As long as I keep you locked up and incarcerated, then you going back to slavery because I don't know what you with 35 cents an hour or whatever. I don't know, but who wants to be in jail? And then it's a revolving door for some of them. Everything is to the mind. What's instilled in that mind? You got to change. If you change the mindset, you can change everything.
Awesome. We talked a lot about issues facing East Cleveland, and you covered a lot of great points about how we can make this city better. Thinking back over the years, if you were to think of other cities, of other institutions that are surrounding East Cleveland, University, Case, Cleveland Heights, Euclid, How do you think the surrounding institutions and cities have impacted East Cleveland?
Well, I say it again. Surrounding ones, that's your problem. It's not my problem. I'm not going to get involved. Why should I get involved? You don't care. So why should I care? It's just a waste of my time. Everything goes back to the mindset. If I meet some associates and I see when we start talking and I see that your mind is on drugs, your mind is on, and not just drugs, alcohol, your mind is on defeat, your mind is on, you set on being impoverished, you don't have no hopes, no dreams, no goals, no desires to do nothing. I'm not gonna associate myself. I'm gonna disassociate myself with you because there's nothing there for me. I don't see anything that we can come together and reason together and get something together. I don't want to go down that road. So I'm going to slowly, like you say, feed them with a long wooden spoon, that's say, and that's what happened. Slowly they backed up, slowly and backed up until they were gone.
You think that racism, and inequality played any part in that?
Of course. Because like I said, once the city became all black, when it came all black, that's when it started easing out. Easing out. And as it started easing out, then you look at one day, everybody's gone. But now they're slowly easing in. Because I see it. They're slowly easing in. Because see, they have a master plan. And that's why they're slowly easing back in.
Tell me about that master plan as you see it.
As I see it, we're going to let you go down till you can't go no more and then give up. And I'm going to come in riding on my horse and say, I'm going to give you $100,000. I'm going to give you $200,000 because, see, some of us, we get that, oh, we rich. Some, you might have to get some $5 million, but I'm going to give you this money, go. And they're going to go. Not all of them. The ones who are not asleep, they're going to stay. But the ones who are asleep, they're going to take the money and run. Now we got now, okay, we ready now. We can recultivate this land and we're going to get it back. And now we sitting here, smoke our cigars. Yeah, didn't we get them? Yeah, I told you we going to get it back because the people without a vision, the people perish. So when all hope is gone and hope is lost and I can't see my way out, and when your mind is confused, you can't think clearly. When your mind is confused, you can't think clearly. You can't hear yourself. You can't hear God. You can't hear wisdom and understanding trying to talk to you and trying to reason with you and guide you to make those decisions because your mind is all cluttered up. And so you're easily knocked off one by one.
Mm-hmm. And when they give you the alcohol, drugs, adjust your priorities. Mm-hmm. So you ain't thinking about education. No. You ain't thinking about Christ.
No.
God. Mm-mm. When they lull you to sleep with those traps.
Mm-hmm. That's when he say, got you.
And the master plan comes to life. And I'm not supposed to be talking. This is your interview. But I'm really seeing what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm not super bad long shot. In all my life coming up, I've always sat around older people and listened and learned. Older people taught me. I listened.
My mom had a saying, when you're around older people, learn to listen or something with a long handled spoon or something. But I know what it meant. It meant listen, don't talk, and you'll learn.
You learn much more. Yeah, my mother used to say, there's 3 types of people. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wondered what happened. And I said, I'm definitely not one of those who wonder. I wonder what happened. No, what happened? That ain't me.
Those are the ones that are asleep. So, Jacqueline, in all we discussed about East Cleveland, what would you be prepared to do to participate in making East Cleveland better?
young people. That's my pet peeve, as they say. Um, help our young people fall in love with themselves again. To see themselves. To really see themselves. That no, there is hope for you. You can make it. You can do things. But you have to make up in your mind. And like I said, we need things for them. We need programs, not just on paper, because everybody can have programs on paper and stuff and get paid for implementing these. But on paper and how you implement is there's always like day and night difference. Really, really doing what you say you're going to do, being there for our children, making a difference, and you can't give up on them because they're a part of us. So if you give up on them and they know you're giving up on them, they say, well, you don't care. Why should I care? And I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing. Nobody's, giving them discipline. Not pointing the finger hard, but there's a way to do everything. You can give a person discipline with love, with kindness. It's how you embrace that person. You can, as they say, when you walk through a crowd, it can be a mob. And when you walk and your spirit is shining, they're going to recognize you and will give you a respect. Because like what they say, even Satan, he can recognize God. And he recognizes when you're a child of God. And you do have power. We have power and authority to trample over a lot of things. But see, if we don't know it, if it's not instilled in us, and we don't wake it up in us, then we fall into those traps over and over. So we fall into this trap one time in jail. Okay, well, you know what? I'm hip to your game in jail, so you're not going to get me again. Okay, so they saying, okay, you're hip to that. I got to come another way now to get you. I got to do something else to set you up, And that's what they do.
Jacqueline, tell me what it was like growing up as your child.
Me being a child growing up?
As your child. As in your household, when you were the mom.
Oh, when I was the mom. Oh, honey, when I was the mother. My kids, we prayed. I went up to the schools. They did their homework, but their homework, summertime, they had all my children had library cards. They went to the library and read. Like I said, I opened at Ebony, 100 influential black men, influential black women. I talked to my kids about our history. When we sat down at 8, I'm on the bus with my 5 kids, going to church. Church on 102nd off of St. Clair. I'm way on the other side of town. Right. On the bus. They used to call me bag lady. But I was there for my kids in school. I was in those schools. Those teachers knew that Miss Swells is up here seeing about her kids. I got involved, volunteered, all that kind of stuff. Miss Wells is here seeing about her kids. And if she catch you just, doing something to another child, she gonna say something to you about it. Talking to different kids on the bus, talking to people. I remember, church walked up to Miss Wells. I remember, you saved me from getting suspended. And I'm like, oh, who is that? I can't remember their name. And I'm like, oh yeah, because children remember, because I remember things. So children remember, they know who really care for them and who don't. So I kept them in the church. I kept them in the church, made sure they did their school work, homework. I remember one time when, what was the name of that group? Where they had you wear your pants on backwards. You wear your pants inside out.
Cross?
Yeah. And my son thought he was going to wear his pants on the wrong side. No, I'm looking at you before you walk out there. What you got? Oh, no, you ain't finna wear that. You better go take that back off. Because, see, there was a time period also. I used to barmaid. And I remember saying, God, I know what I'm doing might not be right in man's eyesight, but I'm taking care of my kids. All my money went to my kids. They ain't going no man. They ain't going on drugs. They ain't going on liquor, none of that stuff. They went to pay bills to take care of my babies. And getting off at 2:30, by the time you close out, it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, but I was still at church at 10 o'clock with all my kids on the bus. On the bus. I learned that from watching my mother.
Wow.
I really like to hear that crisscross story. I was in the mall over the Christmas, and there was a mother in there with her child walking around the mall, and he had his pants down. I was sitting there looking at her.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and then the parents. I'm looking at some of these parents, and you see the child, and they got a word across the buttocks of the pants. But somebody say something to you, want to get attitude. Why are you advertising? And I remember one time I was driving the car and I saw this man walking down the street. I hollered out the window, "Excuse me, sir, your son's pants is hanging down." He said, "Oh, thank you, ma'am." Put them up. But he already knew that. So it's not what you say, it's how you say it sometimes. Young man, come here. Put your pants up. "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry." You ain't got to holler at the kids and all that. "Young lady, come here. You have on pink underwear. Pull your pants up so everybody see that." "Oh, thank you." You don't be shouting and all that, because you shout at me, I'm going to shout back at you. So it's got to be, "Oh, look," like my pastor used to say, "You were young once too, and you was fast too." If some of y'all had husbands or boyfriends, you would be acting like that. So we got to remember that we did our thing too. We did our thing too. Your kids watch you, and how you come up in front of them, that's what they're going to do most of the time. Because you have cases where I'm not being like mom and dad, but the majority of the time, we're a product of our environment. Like I said, we didn't have the best of lavish furniture and all this other stuff. 10 kids, we kept a house clean. We had white furniture. We kept a clean house. My mother got up every morning to cook for us. She made sure, we were together. She presented us to God. She fought for our spiritual welfare. And we have to do the same for our kids.
I love the fact that you're an active participant, or were active participant in your kids' lives and growing up with guidance, because they so desperately need that. I would be remiss if I ended this interview without asking you more about Jacqueline Swells.
Jacqueline Swells, well, I have a book coming out very soon. It's called My Mother, St. Jane, and My Longest Day of Winter. And I talk about my mother raising 10 of us, how she raised us. And there was a point in my life when my mother, as she became the assistant pastor, I was like her right hand. I took some of my nieces and nephews, brought them to church with me too as well. I was real active in the community. Anytime I gave something, the whole community came. Politicians, Fannie Lewis, Peter Lawson Jones, all these people came, they did so much. They helped, Wow.
1 second. Okay. I want you to tell me, go ahead. I want you to tell me about Jacqueline Swells.
Jacqueline Swells is very spiritual. Jacqueline Swells has principles. Jacqueline Swells Goodrum. So that's still, I use Goodrum now, but very intelligent, very spiritual, a God-fearing woman. I have a consistent relationship with God on a daily basis. I'm a praying mother, not just for my kids, my family, but people, period. I'm a no-nonsense person. I don't believe in wasting energy, wasting time. I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic. The best way to describe me is the little engine that could. They asked me in college, if we had to choose a book. I say I'm the little engine that could, because when the big ones and everybody else came, they was too important, they was too shiny. And that little one said, "You know what? I think I can do that. I think I can." So that faith, as it gets stronger, it turns into a knowing. I know I can. I'm the little engine that could when nobody else wanted to do the job. For whatever reasons, I did it. I do it. I get it there. And my determination is called the carrot seed. One of my instructors gave me a book called The Carrot Seed, about this little carrot. Little boy George put a seed in the ground, and every day he would water and watch it, and Mama told me it wasn't going to grow. Dad said it wasn't going to grow. His sisters and brothers, everybody said it wasn't going to grow. But he said, "No, I know it's going to grow." And one day it grew, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's me. That's me."
Born Jacqueline
Swells.
Goodrum.
Born Jacqueline Swells.
Born Jacqueline Swales.
Mm-hmm.
Married into Jacqueline Goodrum.
Mm-hmm. And divorced.
Can you share with us anything about your marriage, your husband?
My husband, he worked. He was a good working person. He didn't cash his checks until he came home, so he didn't mess his money up. Only thing we got divorced because of drinking. Yeah, because of drinking. So that's why I got divorced. But we're still friends. We're friends today. And my last daughter, Larissa, is she's a product out of that. Yeah.
How about your other children?
My other children, as far as what?
They were with you before you met your husband, Mr. Goodrum?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us about that point in your life?
Oh, let me see. My daughter Septina, that's an airline stewardess. She was in the Army Reserve at first. She went to the Army Reserve, and I remember going to see her graduation and everything. My son Edward, he lives in Arizona. He likes carpentry and roofing and those things, but he works in telecommunications right now. But he likes that. My oldest son Richard, he does welding. And I'm very proud of my son. Even though his father wasn't there for him like he should have been, he made the choice that he wasn't going to do that for his children. My granddaughter will be 15 this year. No, she'll be 16 this year. And my grandson will be 15. And my other grandson will be 8. And they're still together married as a family. They don't get to stay up all night. So they sleep the next day in school. They're going to school. He has them involved in all kind of activities. They're going to learn. In his kitchen, and my son is a math whiz. He would have the pi and all kind of equations on the what is this right here? Easel board. And I remember one day over there, he said, "Quit trying to fit in with everybody else, because you were born to be a star somewhere, something like that. So you were made different, special." He named his daughter Tia Divine. That's her name, Tia Divine. That's her name.
Okay.
Chaz Isaiah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I still have the tape running, but I wanted to kind of give you my thoughts on why I kept asking you about the children and the fathers. It's a vision of this tape. And you know how now a lot of times people are going back and they're looking up ancestors and stuff. So as someone went to go and wanted to know what grandma was like, or great grandma was like, that's why I was kind of pushing it. And let me say this: we're still rolling. You have the option to view this tape before it goes into the archive. Delete anything you do not want on there. But I like to push that just in case they want to do an ancestry type thing. So if there's anything else you want to say on that.
Well, I know that my great grandfather was a rock quarry. My grandfather built a submarine. My grandfather used to mix herbs and make medicine.
You have any names?
That I just at a family reunion we found that out.
Okay.
But their names is Lane, George Lane and Bertha Lane, from Tennessee, and then Irving from my great grandmother. They're Irvings from Concord, Tennessee, and my mother said she always believed that it was a Senator Irving from, I think it's North Carolina, that our bloodline was related with him. And I know my great grandmother is Mattie Kyle. I have a picture of my great grandmother and my grandmother. My grandmother was born in 1892. My great aunt was born in 1894. They're 2 days and 2 years apart. My grandmother was a school teacher. One of my uncles was a superintendent. One of my aunts was a school teacher. So education and politics and religion, that's the three most basic things that make up my family bloodline.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Swells Goodrum. Swells Goodrum.
Yeah, I just put swells in parentheses so because a lot of people know me as Swells. So when they they see Jacqueline Goodrum on a piece of paper, that's a group that knows me. But then they say Swells, this is me. And what happened was when my mom died, I got angry at God. I got mad. And so I just was getting away from everybody and anything. So I kept, I'm using Goodrum. So as far as like going to school to get my degree in early childhood education on the education side, from 2000 on up, Goodrum. But before that, it was Swells. So that's why I put that in parentheses, Swells.
Okay. Okay. Miss Jacqueline Swells Goodrum, we are at the end of your interview. Is there any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to leave?
As far as any topic or just whatever.
Any parting words of wisdom?
Okay. Yes. Some people may not say God. Whatever you call the higher power, I call them God. If you have a relationship, a constant relationship with God every day, when things get bad, God will always make a way. As my mother used to say, God always has a ram in the bush. Things may get bad, you may be down to your last, but somehow, some way, God will bless you, keep you safe. Always acknowledge God and keep Him first in your life, and you will avoid a lot of pitfalls. That's what I like to leave.
Beautiful. I'm Brandon King. Miss Jacqueline Swells Goodrum, we'd like to thank you for your time today, being part of the Social Justice Institute Voicing in Action project, part of Case Western Reserve.
Can I say one more thing?
Please.
All you leaders out there, not just in name, because leaders are everywhere. We need to come together because we have a race of people and babies that we have to save. Not just black, white, Hispanic, Asian. We have to save the babies. And we have to save this earth because if we keep on messing up, we're going to destroy this earth and won't nobody be here. And then you won't be able to do anything. So get your act together.